On November 13, 1820, American sailor Henry Palmer and his crew landed on an island near the Antarctic Peninsula, which Palmer later named Deception Island. The events that unfolded over the next 2 days were so terrifying that Palmer kept them a secret until his death in 1877. The story he left behind is chilling and mysterious. Henry Palmer and his men set up camp on the island, planning to explore it at first light. The next morning, as Palmer sipped his coffee, someone shouted that Norris and Clark were missing. A search party was quickly organized, and Palmer's group discovered human footprints and drag marks in the sand, leading to a cave. Inside the cave, they found the bodies of Norris and Clark, skinless and turned inside out. One of them, barely alive, was clutching a brilliant red stone. His last breath was a gurgling noise. Realizing the danger they were in, Palmer and his crew decided to leave the island immediately. The following morning, they found the graves of Norris and Clark empty, which terrified the men. They quickly packed up and left Deception Island. Palmer named it so in hopes that the name would deter others from visiting. The story of Deception Island doesn't end there. In 1957, a group of Australian scientists experienced even more horrifying events. Richard McCree was one of the scientists stationed on Deception Island in January 1957. The first week was normal, but on the 8th day, things took a sinister turn. Two of McCree's colleagues, Ian and Ross, brought back sediment samples from the volcano on the island. That night, McCree saw them standing close together, whispering, but thought nothing of it. The next morning, Ian and Ross were still in the same spot, not responding to McCree's greetings. Later that day, Ian and Ross were nowhere to be found. The protocol was to inform someone before leaving the station, but they hadn't. McCree and the remaining two scientists, Peter and Max, decided to wait until morning to search for them. The next day, they searched the island but found no trace of Ian and Ross. They radioed for help and were told assistance would arrive the following day. That night, McCree woke up to the sound of someone shouting for help. He grabbed a lantern and went to Max's room, where he found two skinless men eating Max. Terrified, McCree ran to Peter's room and tried to wake him up. As the skinless men attacked Peter, McCree fled to the walk-in fridge in the mess hall, tying the door shut with twine to keep the skinless men out. McCree huddled in the fridge, trying to stay warm. The next thing he remembered was being awakened by the voices of rescuers from a Norwegian research station on Livingston Island. They found McCree and took him to safety. The rescuers discovered blood-covered rooms and red stones but saw no one else. Years later, McCree was approached by a man who claimed to be from the special team that investigated the island. The man asked many questions about what had happened but refused to elaborate on the issues they had encountered during their investigation. He simply advised McCree to stay away from Deception Island.